Hello and welcome to another edition of Ad Legends. I'm really excited to be joined today by Charisse Hughes, who's SVP and Global CMO at Kellogg's. Welcome, Charisse.
Thank you, Matt. Happy to be here.
So glad to have you here. And I had warned you ahead of time that in these Ad Legends videos, we usually let the speaker give a quick introduction to any pets they have as part of their companions during the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I had planned to introduce you to my children's box turtle that their grandfather gave them, but he's napping. So I brought a special guest. You can see Tony back there chillaxing, reading a book. So
That's perfect. That'll do. Awesome. Yeah, Tony's one of my favorites. I actually had Rice Krispies this morning, but so don't tell
Oh,
Tony
very
that.
good. Yeah, I'm awesome. Yeah. Anyway, 'cause that's they're siblings, so it's all good.
That's right. So give us a little introduction to yourself and your role at Kellogg's.
Sure. I actually joined the company in September of last year. So it's been an honor to join such an illustrious company. I am responsible for global marketing, so the global growth team marketing, and I lead the capability work as well as insights and analytics, and then also have oversight for global brands and categories.
Well, you know that obviously we focus very much on YouTube and connected TV. Would love to hear a little bit about what role YouTube plays in the marketing that you all do at Kellogg's.
Yeah. Well, we are definitely not discriminatory. Let's say that. Our strategy is to use the full range of media channels and platforms to connect with consumer, and particularly those that are engaged, which we know the YouTube customer is highly engaged, as well as those who are connecting through CTV. So if the customer's there and they want to find us, we want to connect with them. One of the things that we all are dealing with, of course, is that this, high fragmentation in the media landscape. So we're trying to find our audiences wherever we can. So net, right consumer with the right message at the right time. But interestingly that you mentioned YouTube, because during the pandemic, we actually acquired some cereal households, new households through our cereal brands, as consumers started to shift away from home breakfast. And we actually tapped into 10 billion data points to identify and understand households and behaviors that were fueling that change. Then we leveraged our first party data, which revealed that there were some urban and multicultural cohorts that we could be connecting with. So we actually launched a targeted YouTube campaign that allowed us to target zip codes. And that geo-targeted campaigns exceeded our audible and visible on completion by 50%. And we've seen that AVOC is one of the metrics that matter for us in terms of influencing effectiveness. So YouTube is an important part of our strategy, and it helps us recruit, retain, and reclaim households, as evidenced by that example.
I also noticed you guys on your Kellogg's channel, you have a lot of great content and a lot of purpose-driven content. We work with Google. They have us analyze purpose-driven content and how whether it's increasing or decreasing, and we've seen a steady increase over the last few years, especially during the pandemic. And I noticed that you all have a lot of purpose-driven content on your YouTube channel. So talk to me a little bit about why that's important.
Sure. Well, actually, we have both corporate and branded YouTube pages, as you probably know. So what you see on our corporate page is for sure much more purpose-driven content. Yep. We also have branded pages for Special K and Pringles, Eggo, Morningstar, and our other brands, which reflect, the positioning, the tone of voice, the storytelling that is really relevant to those respective prospects, consumers, and advocates. So definitely leveraging our brands and to connect with consumers on YouTube. But from a corporate standpoint, we have a very clear vision of a good and just world where people are not just fed, but fulfilled. And further to that point, our purpose is all about creating better days and a place at the table for everyone, and doing that through our trusted and loved food brand. So when we think about our corporate role, it's all about telling the full story that's anchored in our heritage. And it includes the commitments that we have to sustainability, to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also to nourishing people by fostering well-being for our food. So you have the full spectrum there, from corporate to brands, included on YouTube.
Cool. Well, let's transition to talk about connected TV a little bit. I grew up watching TV advertisements for Kellogg's, as I'm sure you did. So TV has always and continues to be a super important way for Kellogg's to reach its audiences. But now we're in this new reality where paid TV viewership is decreasing, still very high, but decreasing, and connected TV viewership is on the rise. How are folks on your team and with the agencies you work with addressing this new CTV reality?
Yeah, our strategy is to connect with consumers wherever they are.
Right.
And I just saw something that said 78% of households actually subscribe to at least one streaming service. You probably have more recent data that said that number is probably up to 78, 79. It's changing every day, I bet.
Yeah.
And then we know that that's heaviest amongst the Gen Z and millennial cohort. So for us, we're a company that's been around 115 years. And in order to be here another 115 years, we have to continue to recruit and engage that next generation of shoppers and households. So we're using connected TV in combination with our linear TV and digital across our portfolio brands. And it really allows us to drive that reach, that frequency and engagement that's so important for us to really recruit and retain.
So Charisse, one of the things that I always am trying to think about is how I can express my company's values in addition to promoting our products and services. How do I talk about what we care about? Would love to hear about how you feel Kellogg's is doing that, and what ways you're doing that right now, and what are sort of the best ways you've seen to express what Kellogg's cares about?
Sure. I mentioned earlier that we rolled out our vision and purpose, which is all about our purpose, which is all about creating better days and a place at the table for everyone through our trusted and loved food brands. Yep. So defining the ambition and then living it wholly is what we strive for. We have specific commitments to drive our equity, diversity, and inclusion goals. And that actually transcends everything we do, from our supplier base and our expectations of them to how we market to and connect with our consumers. So we've actually just done something really interesting, which is roll out our K-way of inclusive marketing. And that's all about the business impact of equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we are gaining a better understanding of that $4 trillion in purchasing power that diverse cohorts have. And also how culture impacts food, how it impacts eating habits, shopping, and media consumption behaviors. And we're using all of that to help us recruit and retain these households. So it's not just from the consumer angle, it's not just from the supplier angle, but it's totally across everything that we're doing as an organization.
That's super interesting. And do you find it hard or easy to, I'm sure you have your own views, and a lot of what your company is doing sounds like they're in line with what I know about your views. But tell me a little bit about that. That's a challenge for some marketers, is how do you work your own views into it or not, based on what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think today purpose is so incredibly important for marketers and for consumers. I just saw a statistic that said consumers indicate that 70% of consumers indicate that purpose is more important than ever. And that number for the 18 to 34-year-old cohort was 7 points higher. So from a consumer standpoint, it's incredibly important, but as a marketer, it's vital. Because at the end of the day, you are the most important or one of the more prominent ambassadors for your brand and company. And to be able to do that in an authentic way, I think is really key. And so one of the things that got me really excited about Kellogg's and joining the company was their vision and purpose and what they stood for in terms of, helping the planet, in terms of, sustainability, their commitments to equity, diversity, and inclusion, and to feeding people in need. And so all of those foundational elements couldn't be more central to my beliefs and aligned with, what matters to me and what's important to me. And that, I think, is probably the perfect integration of a marketer in a company.
This is always a hard question, but are there other brands, maybe not in your space or in your space, that you look at as being really good at sort of talking about their corporate values in their marketing?
Well, I mean, one of the brands or companies that I look at often, specifically as it relates to what they're doing in equity, diversity, and inclusion, is P&G. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you saw The Look, which was one of the first pieces of work that they did, not first pieces of one of the more recent ones. And then they recently introduced Widen the Screen, which is work that they shared at the NAACP Image Awards this past Saturday, which really, what I like about that work is that it's really changing attitudes, hearts, and minds about the reality of Black lives and families, mm-hmm. and providing a much broader perspective, and hopefully through an emotional lens that allows people to potentially see themselves in it, and realize that we're more similar than we are different.
So this is the part of the program where I ask you sort of a fun question, well, hopefully a fun question. What are some of your favorite things to watch on YouTube? What are your YouTube habits like?
Yeah, funny enough, I end up watching a lot of competitive ads on YouTube, yeah. Which is on the work front, just to stay ahead of what's happening from a competition standpoint. But on the personal front, I actually often need, and especially in this environment, some comic relief. So I watch a lot of YouTube snippets of Saturday Night Live, and so a lot of fun with Michael Che and Weekend Update. So SNL makes the top of the list.
Yeah, I rarely get to watch the actual live episodes anymore. It's clips on YouTube usually.
Clips
for me
on
as
YouTube.
Well. Yeah.
But a lot of fun, and you always, you can never have too much humor in your life. So
definitely, especially this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Charisse, thank you so much for joining. It was great to chat with you, and say hi to Tony for me, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. Take care, Charisse.
All right. You too.